Hello. Hello, Karl.
Hello, Charlotte. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Charlotte, a Grammatica.
Okay. Did you choose to come to this country or was it someone else's choice?
No, it was my choice. I was an adult when I came over.
Why did you choose to come to this country?
Good question. I had family here already, and so being with them again was a motivating factor. Beyond that, opportunity for education, for employment, for living in a way that I didn't have to be or feel afraid day by day. Yeah, I'd say those would be the most important ones: security, opportunity.
Why did you come with and who did you come with and what did you leave behind?
So it was just me that came over, but my family, some of my family had moved before me. They had come about 18 months earlier. And so I came to join them just to kind of see what America was all about, and then decided to see if I could be a student here, and that led to me meeting Sunny, who I married, and that led to me staying. So as far as leaving behind, I left my mom behind. She never made the move over to the United States, and then cousins, extended family, and some really, really good friends.
Okay. Okay, that kind of just answers that question. What was the most difficult part of leaving?
Oh, yeah, it's an interesting thing when you decide to leave the place that you were born and you're raised in. The people that I was leaving behind was the hardest thing, and that's still the hardest part about not being there. I don't miss much about South Africa, but there's some places I'd like to visit again, but I definitely do. I'm glad that we have opportunities through technology to stay in touch with friends, because that was difficult to leave them behind.
Mm-hmm. What most surprised you about life in America?
Yeah. So I would say how different it is when you go from one state to another, when you live in one place to another. Everyone has the sense of we're part of this bigger something, but locally things are very different. Like climate is very different just from one state to the other. I lived in Seattle first, and that was crazy, where it rained like 11 months out of the year. That 3 weeks of summer was pretty fun, but that's all it was. And then I've lived in Utah and Arizona, Virginia, and now Texas. And
now you have too much summer.
No, I'm loving the fact that we got some warmth. But it's very different, right? Because the country's so big. And then just locally, how different people view the world and life and politics. It's very interesting to, and I'm sure it's like that in other countries too. I was just too young to recognize it before. But how different everything is, I'd say that was a big surprise. The other thing is just when you go to the grocery store back home and you're looking for spaghetti, you've got two choices, like a super expensive choice and a very cheap choice. But when you go to the grocery store here, you've got 16 choices of pasta, right, of spaghetti, and then you've got maybe double that of spaghetti sauce. And so there's just the consumer option that was huge. I wasn't expecting that.
It was just a lot.
It was a lot. It was more than I was used to having.
How do you think that immigration has changed you?
I think you have to be flexible when you are moving. I've had opportunities to live in different states, and you I don't know that as an immigrant you necessarily need to forget where you came from and lose all of the connection with that, but there's definitely a sense that you need to try and understand what's going on locally and fit in and be a part of that. I think coming from a different country, there's some perspective that I can bring to situations that I'm seeing here that maybe someone who's only grown up in one place cannot bring. And so I'm grateful that I had the chance to live in a different country and now live where I do. Let's see, what was it, the biggest challenge? What was the question again? I got off track.
What surprised you?
Something about changed me or something?
How do you think that immigration has changed you?
Yeah, I think it's made me more sensitive to the importance that immigration plays in a population in general. Sometimes it's seen as a bad thing, and then sometimes it's seen as just a necessary thing that no one really likes. But it's more important than that. I'd say that's what I meant.
That actually fits really well with this question. Can you think of a time when you felt unwelcome as an immigrant?
Let's think about that. Unwelcome? No, I don't know that.
Wait, what are you doing?
I felt unwelcome. Simply because I think I look like most of the population. I think when I speak to people who have come from different countries who aren't from like the European immigrant places, like even though when you think of South Africa, you don't think of necessarily white people, but I was part of the British colonies way back when. That's where my descendants came from. So I don't know that I was ever made uncomfortable or unwelcome. I definitely did feel like I was a bit of a circus act, on display, especially as a college student. People would hear my accent and it would be different, and I'd be really interesting to them for 7 or 8 minutes. And then it was like nothing, right? So some of the experience was like, oh, he's a novelty. He's kind of strange or weird, and so I'll find out a little about him. But after that, there was no real sincere interest.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, he's different somehow.
Yeah, exactly. And
what about have you ever felt welcome? You feel that same way?
Yeah, I think that I think one of the greatest strengths that the country of America has, even though sometimes strengths can be weaknesses, but one of the greatest strengths is how welcoming people are in general. I've met many people who are sincerely interested in my story and how I got to where I am and why I made the decision to come out here. And South Africa's got a very interesting history, and the U.S. played a very important part in shaping a lot of the history while I was growing up. And so, especially the older generation, they have a lot of questions and a lot of sincere interest in what it was like experiencing growing up in apartheid and then having the opportunity to vote for that to end, and then having an election where everyone in the country could vote in. So I've definitely felt welcome in that regard, because people are interested in that. And I think America as a whole is just it's a welcoming country. People are friendly. There's probably unfriendly people out there, but on the whole, it's a wonderful place.
If someone you knew were planning or coming to this country, what would you tell them to to expect?
To expect when they get here? To expect that they're not going to be able to keep their old way of thinking and experiencing and be happy. You have to change. You have to adapt. You have to kind of fit in with what's going on over here. I've had friends come over or people I know, and they tried to remain so South African that it became a problem to them finding friends, getting jobs. You know, they just wanted to be a South African in America. They didn't want to have that connection to back home still and feel that connection, but yet still be a part of what was going on here.
They wanted the opportunities of America, but they wanted to stay the same.
Right, and the thing is that those opportunities kind of never happen until they let go of some of that really, attitude of, I don't have to change anything. I can be who I was back in South Africa, and I can be successful here. And it's not quite like that.
Mm-hmm. How do you wish more people knew about immigration?
So immigration is a very touchy, sensitive topic, right? And especially because immigration can happen in ways that people have termed legal or illegal.
Mm-hmm. Like pushing someone out?
Right, well, yeah, and just the fact that there are ways that you can enter the U.S. without going through a customs department or through any type of border patrol or anything like that.
Like crossing the Rio Grande.
Exactly,
Mexico.
right? And so Texas is a border state. They have that as their reality all the time. Arizona is the same way when they live there. And it becomes a very politically charged topic where the immigrants are made out to be like thieves stealing what the promise of America has.
Mm-hmm. And that's not you. That's
that's not how I see it at all. My experience of being an immigrant was following the system of going through the papers and the process and all of that. But my desire to become a part of the U.S. is no different than someone who's coming here without having gone through a border crossing or something like that. We want to have an opportunity for something better.
Some people may be like thieves and are probably not good,
absolutely, right?
But that doesn't. You shouldn't assume that about the whole.
It's tough to make the generalization that because some are doing that everyone's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, while I understand that there should be a need for control, because you don't want chaos, because chaos could lead to some serious, bad people coming across the border. I personally believe in a kinder, gentler approach to immigration, making it so that it can be as controlled as it possibly can be, but also as kind and as welcoming and as open as it possibly can be. I think there's a balance that can be met. But when you take a stand and you speak loudly, you get attention. And a lot of people, especially in politics, they like attention and they like the fact that they can make general statements and broad statements, and people will start like, oh yeah, that's right, we shouldn't have any immigration, right? And
They make people like rile up and they get attention and they like that.
But if you go back, if anyone living in the U.S. goes back 2 or 3, 4 generations, where were they living? Where were they? So
like everyone from the U.S. is probably somehow their people
everyone's
came.
an immigrant, right? Everyone now who's fighting against immigration, their families were at some point an immigrant.
They may have, or like generations back, their family had to have moved here at some point.
Right. And so I think they forget that, right? Or they choose not to remember that the promise of America that their ancestors came here for still exists.
Yeah.
It just might look different because the people who are coming here might be from Central and South America. It may not as much from Europe anymore.
Yeah.
It may be from Africa that people are trying to come here, and so it looks different, and so people get a little anxious sometimes when that's happening.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you would like to add that has not been asked?
Good question. No, I think it's a good thing for everyone. I think I know that the requirement here is to talk to one immigrant, but it would be great if there was a handful of people that you got to speak to, where you listen to their stories, and especially if they did look physically different, right? It would be, I think if I have a really good friend. He lives in Utah still, but he's from Pakistan. And if you talk to him about his experience, it's different than mine, simply because he doesn't speak English as well as I did, because it's not his first language, and he doesn't look anything like me, right? Yeah. Because he's from Pakistan, and his experience has been very different. And I've just noticed, and not just like 40 years ago when him and his family moved here, like last year when I was with him playing golf, his experience is different. He gets treated differently. And it's sad that, that's still going on. So, I would encourage everybody to get to know as many immigrants as you can, understand their story, and I think your appreciation for what you have here will grow, and your understanding of why people are coming here will become clearer. And I don't think there'll be so much anger towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.